As a school teacher, I'm super blessed with long vacations, but they disrupt my routines. All year long, I establish these routines that help me pursue my goals in a bunch of different ways, and that helps me pursue meaning in my life. And then over summer, I get this wonderful opportunity to go on these vacations and things, but then when I come home, I find that all of my routines are gone. Well, in this video, I'd like to share with you what I found about re-establishing routines once they've been disrupted. This disruption can obviously happen for any of a wealth of reasons. We all go through busy periods of life or just massive life changes. Those things can shake up whatever routines we've established, and if those routines are healthy and we want to keep them, then it's good for us to have a system we can follow in order to bring them back. So re-establishing habits like this is different from establishing habits in the first place for a few reasons, but the major one I could come up with is we don't need to do much identity work. I'll assume in this video you already have established these routines. You see yourself as the type of person who does these things to pursue your goals, even though since they've been disrupted, you're not currently in the practice of doing them. If you're interested in establishing routines for the first time, I'll link a video in the corner. So this year I set about establishing a system for rebuilding routines that have been lost. And I came up with 5 steps to follow. The only thing you'll need is a journal. And in the first step, you need to break out that journal and sit down and really think, what are these routines I want to establish, and write them down. I'm a huge fan of keeping track of things in general. I just think if we don't keep track, we have no idea if we're actually getting better or worse. We're just emotionally saying like, oh, I feel like I'm getting better. But our feelings don't necessarily have to correlate with reality at all. What we write on the paper will correlate exactly with reality as long as we're honest. So step 1, break out that journal and actually list out what are all the habits you want to rebuild. Step 2, you have to be brutal with yourself and honestly acknowledge the state of each of those habits. The main reason to assess the state of each one is it sets a baseline for you. So you know, like, well, I should be consuming 1,800 calories a day and I'm probably consuming 3,000. Well, that's a serious problem, but you wouldn't know if you're getting close to your goal unless you actually wrote down where you are right now, and then you can see improvement even when it's difficult. For example, oftentimes when people go on a diet or they take actions in order to lose extra weight, they can be taking all the right actions, but actually gain weight at first. Oftentimes what you'd see is other metrics getting better. So maybe their heart health is improving, or maybe their waist is actually slimming. It can be difficult to see these things in the data unless you're actually writing things down and keeping data. So now you've listed down the habits you want to reacquire. You've been brutal and acknowledged the state of each, and write down those answers in that same journal right next to them. The third step is to just choose the easiest one. This for most people is simple. For me, the first one I would choose would be my sleep habits. And if my sleep habits were already on lock and I was sleeping 7 to 8 hours every single night, then maybe I'd choose something else easy, like I need to drink more water. If all of your habits are difficult, then you're gonna choose the easiest one, but it might be something difficult, such as cutting calories. I always find cutting calories for me is one of the most difficult ones. I would not choose it first unless your other goals are truly, really difficult. Now that you've chosen the easiest habit to improve, it's really easy. Step 4 is just master that habit for 3 days. Whatever it is, keep record in your journal, actually write it down. Master that habit for 3 days in a row. If you've mastered it for 3 days, it's not enough to establish a habit. You need to continue recording that habit. But once you've mastered a habit for 3 days, that's when I would go to step 5, which is simply just to repeat steps 3 and 4, adding new habits. I would only continue adding new habits if you haven't failed any of the current ones you have for more than 1 day in a row. I always say failing something once is not a habit, but failing a second time is beginning to establish a new habit, and it's the opposite of the habit you want. So maybe I would choose first that I want to get down my sleep habits, and for 3 days I sleep 7 to 8 hours and I'm doing great. Like I've actually set a bedtime alarm, I'm doing the right thing, I'm not consuming caffeine too late in the day, stuff like that. Okay, my sleep habits are on lock. I've done that for 3 days. Then I'll go ahead and add something. Maybe I need to drink more water, so I put that next in my list of just the easiest habits to reacquire. Well, maybe I start drinking enough water, but for 2 days I lose those sleep habits. I'm gonna reset and I'm gonna act like I've nailed the water for 3 days, but now the habit I'm adding is the sleep because I failed it for 2 days. I established the wrong habit. Once I've nailed both of those for 3 days, then I'll go ahead and look at adding a third habit. And so the rule I use is just that if you fail at a habit for 2 days in a row, look at that as the next habit that you need to reacquire. If you fail at 2 habits for 3 days in a row, then throw one out for now, and the one you choose becomes the next one you reacquire. And that's the system that I developed. It's been working really well for me. But here's the most important part, and I think it's already been obvious and clear, but track everything. If you're not writing it down, you have no idea what the reality is. There is a point in time. For me, it's after several weeks, like maybe 3 or 4 weeks of establishing certain habits every day. I find I don't need to continue writing them down because I've just actually internalized that habit. So I don't need to think about it. Oftentimes for me, these are habits that I do first thing in the morning. So my morning routine is nailed down and I don't need to write things down anymore, like taking my supplements and medications. Like I just do them in the morning because it's part of what I do when I first wake up. But if I failed at taking those supplements and medications for 2 days in a row, then I would add them to my list of habits and I would begin tracking them again. Honestly, one of the reasons this has been so important to me for the last months is that I feel compelled to return to putting out content on this channel, but I feel like a hypocrite as long as I'm not living the life that I'm gonna go ahead and talk about. So a couple months into using this system, it's been really successful for me. I mean, my habits were completely messed up this summer. One of the things we had done is we went on a cruise in the Mediterranean and we had all you can eat and all you can drink everywhere. And so I ate and drank way too much. And we had family members everywhere, so my meditation habits were out the window. I wasn't exercising the way that I should. But now a couple months in using this system, my diet is under control. I have daily meditations going down. My sleep habits are great. Of course, I always take my supplements and medications. I'm drinking plenty of water. And the habit that I've been working on recently is getting back to daily exercise. And I say all this to say, like, most of those things I've already established are very easy, and I'm moving my way up to the really difficult ones. And overall, I feel like I'm ready to return and committed to putting out videos here every week. And I'd be stoked if you're down to come along with me pursuing a meaningful and intentional life. If you've never tried meditation before and are interested in trying out your first meditation, here's a video to check out. This is the Stoic Yogi, out.